You've probably seen this happen, right? A new leader steps in, they start asking for updates, and almost overnight, the veteran team is up in arms, crying, micromanagement. Now, most companies would flag this as an HR problem, a classic personality clash. But what if it's not about people at all? What if what we're actually seeing is a law of physics playing out in the office? And this is the idea that changes everything. That feeling of pushback, the friction, all those complaints. It's not personal. It's not a rebellion. It is a completely predictable systemic reaction. It's basically a force of nature, just unfolding within your company's walls. So the conventional way to look at this is through the lens of emotional data. Someone's feelings are hurt, egos are bruised, maybe they just don't like being told what to do. But if you put on your organizational physicist's hat, you see something totally different. You see system data. Those complaints, they're just the noise the system makes when it's under stress. It's valuable information, not insubordination.
To really get this, we have to talk about the physics of a team's comfort zone. Think about it. A team can go for years in this state of low energy equilibrium. They've got their routines, their inside jokes, their unspoken rules. It's comfortable, for sure. But that comfort zone, it's also a state of massive inertia.
Okay, so into this very stable, comfortable system, you suddenly introduce a new force. And this doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just change. It could be that new boss, or maybe a new piece of software, or something as simple as asking for a new level of accountability that just wasn't there before. It's the push that messes with the equilibrium. And that force is pushing up against the team's mass. In this analogy, mass is a huge deal. It's the combined weight of everyone's years at the company, all those deeply ingrained habits, and that powerful, unspoken rule that this is how we've always done it. The more mass you have, the harder it is to get it to move. So what happens when you apply force to a static object with a ton of mass? Do you get movement right away? Nope. The first thing you get is heat. In an organization, that heat sounds like complaints. It looks like friction between people. It can even feel like outright aggression. That big cry of micromanagement isn't really a diagnosis of the leader's style. It's just the sound the system makes as it heats up. And this is the fundamental law we're talking about. Force plus mass equals heat. And notice that key part before you ever get to motion. Progress isn't the first thing that happens. Friction is. And once you understand that, you stop being shocked by the resistance. You start seeing it as just a predictable, even manageable part of making any real change happen. But let's be clear, this isn't just some quirky academic idea. If you don't manage it, that heat, that friction, it turns into a critical energy leak. It becomes something way more dangerous: organizational entropy. And entropy is exactly what it sounds like. It's when the whole system starts to decay from the inside out. The team's coherence just collapses. Instead of energy going towards making progress, it's just wasted on internal fights, arguments, and endless delays. Your organization is literally bleeding money and opportunity, not because of a bad strategy, but because the team itself is broken. And this, right here, is the heart of the problem. Your team, without even realizing it, is measuring its success based on its own internal comfort. Keeping the old routines, avoiding the tough conversations. But the market? The market couldn't care less about comfort. The only metric the market rewards is speed. And that gap, that's where the energy leak turns into a flood. And here's the brutal dollars and cents cost of that. This is from a real-life situation. A team delayed a key decision because of all this internal friction. Yesterday, a component they needed cost 10 units. Because they waited, today, that same exact component cost 70 units. That's not just a number on a spreadsheet. That is the price of entropy. That's what happens when you're optimizing for comfort when you should be optimizing for speed. So, how in the world do you fix this? The typical response is, let's do a workshop or some team-building day. But look, you can't solve a quantum problem with a Newtonian fix. You can't just give a lecture and expect the system to magically cohere. No, you need a much more fundamental approach. You need what's called a state change protocol. The protocol is really just 3 straightforward steps, and they're all designed to mess with the physics of the team in a good way. You isolate the system, you remove the observer, and you realign the metric. Let's break down what that actually means. First up, Isolate the system. That literally means getting the team offsite, away from the office. Why? Because you simply cannot change the energy state of the people while they're stuck in the same old interference field of the office with all its history and triggers and patterns. To get a new state, you have to have a new environment. Period. Now, this next step is so important, and it feels a little weird, but you have to do it. Remove the observer. The leader's job is to show up, set the stage, explain the problem, and then physically leave the room. This comes right from the observer effect in quantum mechanics. The act of watching something changes the thing you're watching. If you want the raw, unfiltered truth to come out, the boss cannot be in the equation. And finally, step 3 is to realign the metric. The goal here is not to get people to work longer hours. That's just applying more force and creating more heat. The goal is to completely shift what you're measuring from hours worked to energy aligned. The entire focus becomes about finding and plugging the energy leaks. The objective is coherence, not just compliance. And when you put all of this together, what you get is a completely new way of thinking about what a leader does. It's a huge shift in perspective. The new mandate for any modern leader isn't just about managing personalities and checking off tasks anymore. It's about becoming an organizational physicist. And really, the stakes have never been higher. In the slow-moving world of yesterday, inertia was, just annoying. It was a drag. But in today's high-velocity market, where speed is everything, that same inertia, that resistance to change, isn't just annoying. It's fatal. So, I guess that leaves us all with one final question to think about. When you see that friction, when you hear those complaints bubble up, what are you trying to manage? Are you trying to manage the feelings of your people? Or are you ready to start managing the fundamental physics of your organization?